Welcome to the NOSA Unleashed podcast, where we want to expose and remove the stigma surrounding mental health by discussing real-life challenges and obstacles that keep us paralyzed and fearful to move forward. Let us inspire you to believe there is more to life than what you are currently experiencing. Now is the time to end the silence and pursue the path to purpose and fulfillment. We will do this together because no one stands alone.
Welcome back to the NOSA Unleashed podcast. My name is Connie Blackwood, and joining me today is my lovely sister, Laura Burgoyne. And today we'll be talking about dangers of trying to please others. And this topic really hits home for me because for a lot of my life, I lived it trying to please other people. And I just know how much it affected me and affected my entire life and affected those around me as well. And just think it's a really important topic. And I kind of want to start in the place of expectations because I feel like talking about that is where we start. Because when we're trying to please other people, it's based on what they expect of us, right? What we think they expect of us. And we're trying to appease them. We're trying to make them happy. And sometimes we do it in like a relationship because we're trying to make sure that we don't lose the other person. Or sometimes we do it when we're in a family because we know they rely on us and they need us. Sometimes we do it in a friendship. It rears its ugly head in many different ways. And expectations can be a good thing when you're in a job situation, and they can sometimes be a bad thing when people expect things that are absolutely impossible for you to do, and there's no way for you to ever achieve them. And so they can be a double-edged sword. And so it's important to talk about. And for me, I think I recognize how important it is to let go of my expectations a lot of times when I'm with people in relationship, especially like I think of my husband and me, right? So my husband has really great intentions and really wants to do things for me, but there's times when his physical body just won't allow him to. And so if I have this unrealistic expectation of him that he's going to be able to achieve what he wants to, and then he doesn't follow through, then I get irritated or frustrated or angry. And then it causes friction in our relationship. Whereas if I know that he's doing it with the intention that he wants to do them, and then his body breaks down, I realize that, that's out of his control. His heart was in the right place, and I can have compassion by not having that high expectation there that he's going to follow through on what he said. And that's just something that I've had to discover over a period of time while his body hasn't been exactly cooperating with what he wants to be able to do. And so sometimes we have to learn to let go of some of those expectations in order to have more realistic ones, or even to like be able to have that compassion and grace for other people when they can't meet the expectations that we would normally have. Laura, do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, I actually do, because just in regard to what you just shared, I think it's important to recognize, if you have unrealistic expectations for your husband and he tries to live up to those expectations, then he's actually stepping into people pleasing, right? And so for you to actually remove those expectations gives him the freedom to not have to be coming from a place of trying to please you, but being true to himself, being true to where he's at in his journey, what he's capable of doing in the moment, right? But for myself personally, I had I had unrealistic expectations of myself, right? And I believed that the happiness of others was based on me. And so I placed my expectations super, super high, that I had to perform at this specific level in order to meet everyone else's needs and to please everyone else. And that was coming from a really unhealthy place in my life. And it actually caused a lot of problems for me. It caused deterioration of mental health, spiritual health, my physical health. I went through a full burnout, which then eventually led to just breakdown of my whole body as well. And it took a long time to recover from that and heal from that and to restore my health to the place that I am now. But I recognize now what the root of that was, right? It was people pleasing. And and like you said, a huge part of that was expectations, but it wasn't the expectations that others had on me. Because a lot of times they didn't expect those things from me, but I expected it of myself, and I created this perception, right? This is the reality I have to live to, and then slowly that became their expectations of me. So it was almost like this, self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I sometimes refer to it as a vicious beast, right? Like, you feed it, but then it always wants more, right? And so I think we just have to not go there at all, right? We have to recognize people pleasing in the moment and, really stop that. Because if we're coming from that place, we're not being authentically, truly ourselves, right? And I believe that a lot of times when we are people pleasing, it's coming from a lack of confidence in ourselves, right? A lack of um, believing in ourselves, right? We're looking for the affirmation and confirmation and praise from others because we don't have a sense of who we are.
And I think in those moments, we're almost getting our identity from what we do rather than from who we are. Right. And so because of that, we're actually expecting those things that we do to be who we are. And so, like, a lot of times, when you talk to people, they're like, oh, I'm a mother, and they're in that mode, right, where they don't know who they are outside of that because that has become everything. And they are in that mode where they're pleasing everyone just to be a good mother. And for me, when I did the people pleasing thing, it was to keep relationships because I was terrified that if I lost that relationship, that I would go without a relationship for the rest of my life. And that isn't true either, right? I'm a lovable person. Anyone who knows me knows that, right? And so, I don't have to, you know, hope that this relationship is going to work out. I need to believe in myself and believe in who I am. And when I was in that people pleasing mode, I kept letting go pieces of myself to appease that person. And then when I finally realized what I was doing and I took back who I was, they left my life. And it was okay. And actually made me better. Like, it made me realize that I had no idea who I was anymore. And it made me go back and recapture who I was. And I would have never done that had I kept on that pathway of trying to please them and letting go of pieces of myself in order to keep them around. And it was not healthy at all. That relationship was not healthy. And
Yeah.
so I would encourage you that if you're in a relationship like that, where you feel like it's based on like you losing parts of yourself just to keep them there, it's not a healthy relationship for you to hold on to. You need to be yourself. You need to be who you are and not who they want you to be.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, if we don't have a strong sense of identity, a strong
Mm-hmm.
sense of personal value, and we have other people in our life that uh, want to take advantage of that, um, that they can really cause a lot of harm, right? And we might give into those demands. We might give into those, requests that people have because we want to please them. But I would say the root of that one is we lack boundaries, right? We really lack a sense of where someone else ends and you begin, right? We feel like, you know, if someone is domineering and someone is requiring certain things of us, even though if it's not realistic, like we still give in, right? We want to please that person. And, I think we need to really develop strong boundaries, right? And I believe boundaries come from a sense of identity, a sense of, well, this is who I am. This is what I value. This is what I will allow, and this is what I won't allow in my life. And you start putting in these boundaries in your life, and you start recognizing the areas where maybe things are off balance, the areas where maybe um, you have given in to the demands of somebody else, and you have allowed that to impact how you see yourself, how you view yourself, right? And you might be doing things strictly just to make that person happy. It has nothing to do with yourself. It has nothing to do with you wanting to be that person or do those things for that person, right? You're doing it out of obligation and not out of a spirit of serving and wanting, and out of the overflow of who you are, right?
Yeah. I think another danger of trying to please others is the fact that put your you put so much onus on what other people think about you or what you're about, that you forget about yourself, that you forget about your self-care, that you forget about anything that you're passionate about. You end up burying your own dreams, you end up burying your own things, and you end up being so focused on what other people think and believe about you that you lose sight of what you think about yourself and what God thinks about you. And those are the two most important things. Because if you can believe in yourself and you know that God is pleased with you, then you're on a right path, right? And other people will come around. But you need to have those two things for sure. And if you're so wrapped up in what other people think of you, it
Mm,
will mold you and shape you into someone you're not.
yeah.
It will shift you. And that's how you can lose your entire identity and not know who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me, right? I lived to people please for the first 30 years of my life. I had no idea who I was. And then there at the age of 30, in a complete burnout, physical and emotional burnout, I remember sitting in my counselor's office, not having a clue who I was, not having a clue what I needed as a person, um, what I enjoyed in life, because everything about me was based to please others. And it took me many years to work through those things. Um, a lot of mindset shifting, a lot of retraining my brain, a lot of trial and error, right? Self-discovery. And I wish I had realized that earlier on in my journey,
Mm-hmm.
but I also recognize the value that, having gone through that, I can really empathize with people.
Yeah.
I can really understand where they're at, and even recognize, you know, when they are operating like that, I can pick it up right away,
Mm-hmm.
and I can help, illuminate that for them and say, you know what, look, this is what's going on right now. We need to address this, right?
And I think for me, like it's a lesson I've learned especially over the last few years, just in letting go of what other people think about me and not caring. Because really, what other people think about me has no bearing on me, right? Like, unless I let it, right? If someone thinks that what I'm doing is stupid, okay. If they don't act on that, how does that ever impact me? It doesn't, unless I let it. Right. And if they never say it to me, how will I know they're thinking it? I don't. Right. So there goes the assumption thing that we were talking about last time. We're assuming they're thinking certain things about us. And once again, that assumption wheel starts rolling, and we don't even know if that's truly what they're thinking, but that's what we think for their thinking. And it gets this vicious cycle, this beast thing that Laura talks about, right?
Mhm.
Where we get into this mode where we just start trying to please people to the point where we can't outrun this beast that's chasing us. And
Mhm.
it's impossible to live up to the we can't please everyone 100% of the time. It's impossible. And
Yeah.
so it's just this unreachable thing, and we're a constant failure. And I think that's like the third thing, is that we get so entrenched in failure that we lose any hope that we could ever be worthy. And that's just it. We are worthy. We are worthy to be loved. We are worthy to be cherished. We're worthy. We deserve to be able to care for ourselves. People get to the point where they don't even believe that they deserve self-care because they're
Right.
so busy pleasing other people. And yet, if they took care of themselves, they would be an even better caregiver. They would be an even better parent. They would be an even better whatever. And they just don't see that part because they're so ingrained in the fact that, oh, I can't do this for myself. It's selfish. I can't do this for myself. But it's actually making them healthier to be able to be better. And so if you're one of those people that is wrapped up in that and thinks it's selfish for you to care for yourself, it's not. You
Mhm.
need to do that to be what you need to be for these other people in your life.
And I just wanna mention one more thing, is that a good way of distinguishing whether you're walking in people pleasing or not is to check your heart motive,
Yeah.
right? Is your motive, you know, in making sure that that person doesn't have an issue with you, or is it your heart motive to serve them and love them, right? Because the outcome would be the same. Perhaps you would do the same thing for them, but your heart motivation is different and it's coming from a different place. It's coming from a place of abundance and not out of obligation and expectation and, suppressing of your own needs and your own desires, right? And so that I think that's a really great way of, judging, right? Because you might be like, well, then maybe I just don't do anything, right? If I don't want to please anyone, but we've been called to serve one another. We've been called to love one another, right? And we just have to make sure that our heart motivation is right and we're coming from the right place and we're not coming from a place of wounding and a place that I have to do this because otherwise I will be unloved, right? I won't be accepted, right? I'm serving these people because I genuinely love them and I want to be a blessing in their life. And I'm coming from a place of identity and like I see the value in myself and I just want to share that,
Mhm.
right?
And that is a key point, right? It's pleasing people versus serving people, right?
Yeah.
And serving people, usually when you serve people, the response is gratefulness. Usually when you serve people, they don't want to take advantage of you. I say usually because, there's, the odd person where, they take
Yeah.
advantage, but most people recognize it as like you caring and loving about them so much that they're just honored that you would do it for them in the first place. And it's such a different experience than people pleasing. It is
Yeah.
very, very different. And so
Mhm.
when you actually experience it, you see it. And if what we've talked about in this podcast or in the past podcast has kind of like got you thinking, then I would encourage you to come check out our webinar, which is coming up the first Thursday of April, April 3rd. And we'll be talking more on these concepts that are all a part of my book, actually. And the book that I wrote is called Unlovable. And so if you don't have a copy of it and you'd like to read it before the webinar, or if you'd like to get your hands on a copy, feel free to send an email to us at, what's the email address, Laura?
No one stands alone foundation at gmail.com.
Thank you. And yeah, so you can send an email there and I will let you know what the shipping cost will be, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll get you a copy. So yeah, feel free to check out that webinar and let us know if you'd like a copy of that book. And Laura, do you have any final thoughts before we let them go?
You know, you are such a valuable person. I want you to know that this is a journey, and maybe you've been people pleasing your whole life. And maybe you find yourself in the same place that I was at, completely burnt out, completely spent, have no sense of self-worth. I am here to tell you it's possible to recover from this. It will take some time. It will take a lot of reflection and being honest with yourself. And like Connie said, getting rid of those expectations, not only of yourself, but also of others. And really just getting to know yourself. Who are you? What do you value? What do you need? What makes you thrive? What just brings you alive? What are those things that you need? And like Connie said, self-care. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's actually one of the greatest gifts that you will give yourself, and that was one of the biggest things I had to learn was how to take care of myself, how to place value in myself, and how to not let others take advantage of me. So I bless you today with that, and check out our webinar coming up in April, and we will talk to you next time on the NOSA Unleashed podcast. Bye.